Hajime Isayama's attack on Titan is finally coming to an end. There's a great sense of deja vu associated with this statement since we've been saying this since 2021, but finally, we have the final part of the final part of the final season. At least we hope we do. The rumbling initiated by Eren Yeager is going strong, and there's not much that can stop it. Weapons are obviously not the answer because what is a mere tank going to do against hundreds and thousands of colossal titans that can regenerate, and a founding titan that is bigger than every other titan combined? All hope seems lost right now, and the reason things have gotten this far has a lot to do not just with Eren Yeager's vengeful and freedom-centric mentality, but also with the physical anatomy of the original founding titan, Emir. Because why is the Titan shaped like a massive ribcage? And why is it seemingly invincible? Let's find out in today's video. How did Ymir become the founding titan? It all began approximately 2,000 years ago, back when Eldia was far from being the mighty, ruthless empire it became notorious for. Ymir used to be a regular young girl living in an unnamed village. Eventually, the village was annexed by the Eldian tribe, headed by its tyrannical ruler King Fritz, who went on to enslave the people of the village under his regime. Ymir, like the other villagers, had her tongue cut out, which was done to cut down on any chances of opposition against the ruler. Despite having internalized the mentality of being a slave and living to serve, a part of Ymir continued to desire freedom. One day, she freed one of the pigs from the local pig pen, and of course, this small act of rebellion didn't sit well with King Fritz. Oblivious to who did the deed, and with the people unwilling to rat Ymir out, the king threatened to gouge one of every slave's eyes out unless they revealed the perpetrator to him. In the sake of self-preservation, everyone pointed towards Ymir. An interesting visual foreshadowing in this moment was how the viewer or the reader could see 13 fingers pointing towards Ymir. This number grows in importance as we get deeper into the story, and by extension, the founding titan's anatomy. The king surprisingly let Ymir go instead of killing her right then and there, but as she left, he sent his men and their hounds to attack her. Ymir ran through the forest for her life but was pierced by an arrow, which slowed her down. Soon, she came across a tree with a gaping hole at the bottom and tried to find refuge there. However, the hole led to her falling into a body of water. Ymir began to drown, and under normal circumstances she would have lost her life there. However, a mysterious translucent form, similar in appearance to a fishbone or a human spinal cord, attached itself to Ymir's backbone. In our reality, such a creature used to seemingly be present in the oceans billions of years ago, and is today scientifically known as the hallucigenia. As such, viewers and readers of Attack on Titan refer to this mysterious form as such. Within the framework of the show, this being is considered to be the source of all living matter, so when it becomes one with Ymir, she was reborn as a titan with incomprehensible powers. The transformation led to her towering over her attackers and taking them out. Her titan body mimicked that of the hallucigenia, with ribs that were wide open. Meanwhile, her face was skeletal with stringy blonde hair, and her limbs and chest resembled exposed muscles. With the titan powers amping her up, Ymir had become an unstoppable force, and yet chose to go back to King Fritz due to her internalized mindset of finding solace in enslavement instead of freedom. Seeing Ymir's titan, Fritz realized that it was a far greater advantage to have her by his side. He ordered her to destroy the Marleyans so he could expand the Eldian Empire. The opposition's spears and arrows were no match for Ymir's powers. She could even heal herself and regenerate if she did happen to get injured, which seldom happened. And soon, she was conquering kingdoms left and right for the king. Throughout it all, Ymir had fallen in love with the king in a shocking case of Stockholm Syndrome. He went on to marry her and made her bear his children, which is the dark origin story behind how all the other titans were born. How Ymir's anatomy led to the birth of other intelligent titans. One day, a rogue soldier threw a spear at King Fritz with the hopes of taking the tyrant's life. However, Ymir rushed to the spear and intercepted it to protect him. Fritz was not worried about her injury as he knew that with the titan's powers, she could heal herself with ease. However, he was surprised to notice that Ymir was not healing herself. She was on the verge of death and did not have the will to continue living. As such, Ymir passed away 13 years after gaining the powers of a titan, bringing us back to the importance of the number 13 in Attack on Titan. To keep the power of the Titan intact, Fritz ordered his daughters, Maria, Rosé, and Sheena, to eat Yamir's body and spine. Naturally, they went on to inherit their mother's powers. This cycle continued for generations, where the members of the Eldian royal family consumed the spines of their predecessors and attained the powers of the Titans. With this power, they could shift into their Titan forms from their human forms, much like Ymir herself. However, Titan shifters had a lifespan of 13 years only, after which their bodies and spinal fluid were fed to their descendants for the cycle to repeat. This also birthed the other types of Titan shifters that we know today, such as the Armored Titan, the Attack Titan, the Female Titan, the Beast Titan, the Jaw Titan, the Cart Titan, the Colossal Titan, and the Warhammer Titan. In each generation, one person from the immediate royal bloodline who bore the surname Fritz inherited the founding Titan. The shifters also retained their human intelligence and had full control over their actions. Being the first of her kind, Ymir did not truly cease to exist despite being dead in the physical world. Instead, she found herself in a state of limbo, locked in a cold desert with a vibrant night sky overhead. But it wasn't the stars that made the sky so vibrant, it was the paths, a coordinate that looked like a shining white tree, branching out into a resemblance of the Milky Way. The metaphysical realm of the paths connected the founder Ymir to all of her subjects and the 9 Titan shifters. When a shifter would transform from their human form to their Titan form, Ymir would create their bones, muscles, and bodies from the sand of this realm. She would then send them to the shifter via the paths. As time-consuming as this process might sound, it was only time-consuming for Ymir. Time worked differently in the past, and what could feel like months and years were only a few seconds in the physical world, which is why the shifter's transformation was quick. Long story short, Ymir was the coordinate, and the paths of her subjects branched out from her. She could connect with them via those connections. However, the shifters were not her only subjects. Every Eldian born had the ability to turn into Titans. The majority of the Titans we see in the show are pure Titans who lack intelligence or the ability to go back and forth between their human and Titan forms. These Titans are created by sending the spinal fluid of the founding Titan, which does not have to be Ymir, to the bloodstreams of ordinary Eldians. The Titan shifter, whose fluid has been used, can then turn those Eldians into pure Titans. It is important to remember that one would need to be of royal blood to be able to do this, which is why Zeke's spinal fluid and his scream can turn Eldians into Titans even though he wields the Beast Titan instead of the founding Titan. Eren cannot control Titans despite having the founding Titan in him because he is not of royal blood. It isn't until he comes into contact with a royal Titan, be it Zeke with his Beast Titan, Dinah Fritz as a pure Titan, or Historia Reese who is not a Titan, that he can access the powers of the founder. The founder, Ymir, does not put as much detail into creating the pure Titans as they are, more often than not, disposable. If Attack on Titan was a game of chess, the pure Titans would be the pawns at the front lines, while the Titan shifters would be the rooks, knights, bishops, king, and the queen. They can be abnormal, deformed, and misshapen. Their faces are also similar to a caricature of the standard human face. The pure Titans can also continue living forever unless they're killed. They have no control over their transformation and cannot do anything to prevent or reverse it. On the other hand, the Titan shifters often inflict injury upon themselves with the motive to turn into a Titan, which triggers their transformation. Due to Ymir having gained these powers with the attachment of the hallucigenia to her spine, every Titan can be killed by slicing their napes, which would signify disconnecting the being from the spine, thus breaking their connection with the founder. The founders that succeeded Ymir. Because the power of the founding Titan was always kept within the Fritz bloodline, every wielder of the Titan, barring the Yamirs, is a descendant of the other. The second founding Titan we know of, after Ymir of course, would be Eldia's 145th king, Karl Fritz. A peaceful ruler, unlike the first King Fritz, Karl was a pacifist who became responsible for Eldia's downfall. His heart hurt for the miseries experienced by the Marleyans and the rest of the world, who were the victims of Eldia's regime. As such, he denounced war and moved most of the Eldians to Paradise Island. He created a barrier between the island and the rest of the world using 50-meter tall colossal titans, whose bodies were hardened to create impenetrable walls of defenses between Paradise and the outside world. His denouncement of war led to the creation of a blockage between the wielder of the founding Titan and its powers. This birthed a solution where only the royals could wield the founding Titan, but they would be shackled in the realm of the paths, which prevented them from gaining access to the founder's true power. And, without the founder's powers, they could never go back to being as mighty as they could have been. Meanwhile, non-royals could never gain access to the coordinate in the first place, even if they acquired the founding Titan. To make matters simpler, let's use the lock, the key, and the locked door for our analogy. The Founding Titan could reach the locked door, but they did not have the key to open the lock. Meanwhile, a non-royal with the Founding Titan had the key, but they could not reach the door in the first place. As the Founding Titan, Karl Fritz stood at a height of 13 meters. His hair was straight and long, and his teeth were sharp. We never got to see Karl Fritz in action, so we don't know what his Titan looks like. The third Founding Titan that we're exposed to is Yuri Reese. After the Eldians relocated to Paradise Island, the Fritz family changed its name to Reese and altered the memories of the people using the power of the paths to take away their memories of the outside world. As Yuri Reese inherited the Founding Titan, his normal eyes transformed into a pair with a vacant look, which signified that he was bound by the pacifist will of Karl Fritz. His irises were also adorned by a sparkling structure that mimicked the paths in some ways. We get to see his partial Titan form once during his meeting with Kenny Ackerman. Similar to the other Titans, Yuri seems to have a structure with exposed muscles and a barely visible humanoid head. We can assume that his Titan body was enamored by skin, similar to Eren's Attack Titan. This is because a Titan body that has been severed is regenerating or is regressing in form tends to generate heat and smoke, and when we see Yuri's Titan holding Kenny in its hand, the hand is similar to a giant human hand while the exposed muscles are generating heat. Yuri passed his Titan to his niece, Frida Reese, who went on to become the Queen of the Walls after Yuri. As a human, she looked similar to her half-sister Historia, but had black hair instead of being a blonde. As a Titan, she was 13 meters tall with a female form encompassed by skin, similar to Annie's female Titan. She had a partially humanoid face, black hair, and a skeletal nose. Both in and out of her Titan form, Frida Reese had eyes akin to that of Yuri's. In fact, she attained those eyes right after consuming Yuri and his Founding Titan. She was the last royal wielder of the Founding Titan because she was killed and consumed by Grisha Yeager, who was the wielder of the Attack Titan. However, he soon sacrificed himself to his son, Eren Yeager, who is the final wielder of the Founding Titan and is quite obviously not of royal blood. Unlike the other Founding Titans, Ymir's Titan looked less developed with its exposed muscles, skull, and ribs due to her very nature. She did not have a sense of self-identity like the others. She existed solely to serve her king. Not only because she had to, but because she didn't know any better. This is the very reason why she remained stuck in the paths for 2,000 human years instead of passing away. Her toxic love for the king keeps her in her state of limbo, serving other Titans and the subjects of Ymir. How is the anatomy of Eren's Founding Titan different compared to the others? Eren gains access to the paths after his head gets dismembered due to being shot by Gabi. A human, however, does not die immediately after being beheaded, which becomes a boon when Zeke is able to catch Eren's head. Following a grueling series of altercations between the two brothers in the paths, their conflicting ideas for the future of the Eldian race, and a trip down memory lane, Eren confesses that Ymir had been calling to him all these years. He was the one she had picked to free her, and with her by his side, Eren is finally able to access the Founder's true powers. In the physical realm, a massive spinal structure, similar to Hallucigenia's body, sprouts from Eren's head while the walls begin to unharden. Eren's Titan takes form and proves to be unfathomably larger than every other colossal Titan that appears. His entire body resembles a spinal structure that claws itself to the ground as it maneuvers itself. His head hangs at the front, and he has stringent long hair that clings to his skull. The face is similar to that of the Attack Titan, with its pointed ears and glowing green eyes. Meanwhile, his original head rests inside the exterior face. It is essential to understand the powers and abilities of the Founding Titan as a whole to understand Eren better. This will help us shed light on the difference between the abilities of Ymir, the other Founding Titans who followed Karl Fritz, and Eren's Doomsday Titan. Starting off with Titan creation, Ymir is the only one who can create Titans out of nothing. The other Founding Titans can create Titans out of Eldians using their spinal fluid and the Scream. However, Karl Fritz presumably created thousands of colossal Titans to create the walls. This was possible because he had access to the Founder's powers, unlike his descendants. Following his denouncement of war, the subsequent Founding Titans could not unharden those walls as they were prevented from using the Founder's abilities for offense unless it was for individual self-defense. They could only fight like regular Titan shifters, engage in hand-to-hand combat, and harden their bodies. This brings us to hardening itself. We see it dominantly with the Armored Titan and the Warhammer Titan, as the former's entire body is covered in hardening because the Armored Titan is a defense-oriented combatant. The Warhammer Titan uses its hardening abilities to create offensive offensive and defensive weapons against its opponents. It also creates a hardened crystal around itself for self-protection that nothing can penetrate, except the jaws of the Jaw Titan. The female Titan, being versatile, can harden individual parts of its body for defense and offense. It can also create a hardened crystal like the Warhammer Titan to protect itself. We see Eren Yeager acquire the ability to harden its individual body parts after Eren injects himself with the hardening serum created by Marleyan Titan scientists. Ideally, the Founding Titan, when not shackled by Karl Fritz's anti-war vow, can pull off all of these feats. The Founding Titan can also manipulate the memories of its subjects, and they are able to retain this ability even after being bound by King Fritz's vow. From the coordinate and via the paths, Ymir can send messages to her subjects. She can show them the past, present, and future based on the memories of a Titan Shifter's past and future wielders. However, most of the Titan Shifters gain access to the memories of their predecessors only. It is the Attack Titan that can obtain the memories of its successors, giving them access to memories from the future. Eren uses this to instill the idea of moving forward for freedom to every Attack Titan that comes before him. This is why Eren Kruger mentions protecting Mikasa and Armin when he communicates with Grisha in a time when Eren was not even born yet. This is also why Eren is able to be the one who pushes Grisha to kill the Reese family and obtain the Founder, as he appears from the future in Grisha's memories and forces him to avenge his people. The drawback of this ability is that it makes the Shifter perceive everything at once, in a non-linear format. This can convolute the mind of the Shifter, as they are overloaded with all information at once, which, coincidentally, resulted in Eren accidentally sending Dina Fritz's Titan to Shiganshina, which caused the death of his mother Carla. Karl Fritz used his ability to manipulate memories to make the people of Eldia forget about the outside world after they were confined to the walls of Paradis Island. This ability, however, did not work on Eldia's noble families and the Ackermans, and with the Ackermans being powerful enough to overthrow the royal family, the future generations of Eldia's royalty began to hunt them down. We see Frida Reese use this ability on Historia to remove the latter's memories of. This ability is not foolproof, however, as they can still continue to appear in dreams, which is why Historia would occasionally dream of Frida, but later forget everything once she woke up. The Founding Titan can not only manipulate the anatomy of the Titans it creates, but it can also alter the anatomy of its subjects. 600 years ago, an Eldian king had used this ability during a rampant epidemic to make the people immune to the disease. Zeke himself wished to use this ability to make the subjects of Ymir sterile and incapable of reproduction. This would not only prevent the deaths of the existing Eldians, it would also reduce the global discrimination against them, since their bloodlines would not continue, and eventually bring an end to the Eldian race. The Founder can also telepathically communicate with its subjects, which is another ability it loses access to due to Karl Fritz. It isn't until Eren comes into contact with Zeke that this ability is used again. Eren is able to pull this off because, as the Founding Titan, he comes into contact with a Titan Shifter of royal blood when Zeke catches his head. Up until then, he was unable to meet the requirements necessary to gain absolute access to the paths because, with Dina Fritz, she was a pure Titan of royal blood, but not a Titan Shifter, and Historia was not a Titan. And finally, we have the Titan's ability to control every other Titan via the paths. The Founder can use its powers to make other Titans do its bidding, but this is another ability blocked by the anti-war vow. We do see Eren and Zeke use it because of their unusual situations. While Zeke is able to create and control pure Titans because he is of royal blood, and his spinal fluid has been used to create most of the present-day pure Titans, Eren gains this ability when he comes into physical contact with Dina Fritz. Titan Shifters may not have been affected by it, but with Eren connecting with the coordinate, the other Shifters in his vicinity were able to feel its influence during the moment, leading to them realizing that the Founding Titan was within Eren. However, as the Doomsday Titan, Eren willingly chooses not to control the Titan Shifters wielded by his friends. He gives them the freedom to operate based on their own will because he wants them to stop him and his rumbling rampage. Marvelous verdict. All of this raises just one question. How is the Founder's power, which is so metaphysical in nature, tied to its physical anatomy? This is because hallucigenia is the source of all living matter. Ymir becoming one with the source makes her the coordinate and gives her control over all living matter that is descended from her. Her unusual anatomy, the subsequent consumption of her spinal fluid, and the spinal fluid of her descendants creates a race that can be weaponized to end the world. And with that thought, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of the Founding Titan and its unique anatomy? Did you enjoy the video? If so, then don't forget to like and comment down below. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.